Hey game designers, in this video we're going to show you guys how to make two types of animated environments. We're going to make one just using the Unity rotation tools, and then we're going to make another one using a animation sheet. So what we're going to have you do is go ahead and download the PNG here. Just right click, open a new tab. You'll see that this is an animation sheet. This will quickly count. We have 4 rows of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So we have 60 frames here. We'll go ahead and download it. Okay, it'll be downloaded into your downloads folder. Let's go and open up a blank scene in Unity. And it's okay if you guys just have a normal blank scene to keep it simple for the purposes of the assignment. Let's go ahead and get this animated environment started. So the first thing I want you guys to do is go to the My Assets folder. And if you have a folder called My Sprites, let's go ahead and go there. And inside of My Sprites, we're going to create a new folder. We're going to create folder here. And we're going to create a folder called My Environment or something. So let's go My Environment Sprites. I'll just call it My Environment. Let's go ahead and double click on there. I'm going to double click, right click. We're going to create, and we're going to go ahead and, import. We're going to import the sprite sheet from our downloads folder. And once you see now that it is downloaded, the image, let's go ahead and get all the settings. The most important ones are sprite mode. This is a multiple sprite sheet. We're going to go to multiple mode. I'm going to change the pixels per unit back to 64 to keep it the same quality. Now for some things to make it look better, and let's go ahead and use point filter and no compression. We're going to click apply. And now we're going to go to sprite editor and slice this thing up. Okay. Just like before, you guys are going to go to slice, and you can do it by cell size. That's usually the best way we can do it. And let's see if it slices correctly. So you can see here that this does not slice correctly because the original photo was not 64 by 64. So what we're going to do now instead is do by cell count. Okay, grid by cell count goes by how many columns and how many rows. We're going to have 4 rows and 15 columns. And now we're going to slice it, and now you see that it is sliced correctly. Now, because this is an environment and not a tile map, we don't want the pivot to be the center, because if the person stands behind the tree, we want the pivot to be the bottom. We're going to go ahead and slice it. And now we can go ahead and click apply. And you can see now that each of the sprites have a bottom center pivot. All right, let's go ahead and close this. All right, so now that we got this sliced up correctly, let's go ahead and create a prefab. We could just create an object directly in the game, but let's create a prefab because we want to create multiple of these. So we're going to go and go to create, and we're going to go to prefab. So now we are creating our own prefab. The first one is going to just use a seasonal tree. So I'm just calling it my seasonal tree, because the tree will change with the seasons. And when you create this prefab, you're going to click on Open Prefab to create the prefab from scratch. The 2 components that we're going to have is a sprite render, and the second one that we're going to have is a animator. All right, so we're going to create a sprite render. It means what it looks like on the game, and the animator will control what it looks like through time. So for the sprite render, we're just going to go ahead and use the first image here. So I'm going to grab the first image of our slice, and this is what our tree will look like. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in here. I'm on scene mode. Then the next thing I'm going to do is now create an animation for this. So if you don't have your animation window open, you can find it under Windows, Animation window. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and create an animation here. I'm going to click on Create, and I'm just going to call it My Seasonal Animation. Click Save, and I'm just going to start creating frames. So we have all the frames from 0. I'm going to left click on the first one, hold Shift, click on the last one. It should select all the frames. you can left click and drag it into the animation window, and now all the frames are here. Now if you hit play, the tree goes through all 60 frames in 1 second. Now if you want to increase that time, let's just go, this is 1 second. Let's go ahead and go to 10 seconds. You can just drag this bar out here, and now the animation will show up in 10 seconds. Okay, hit play. You can see that the tree goes through all the frames in about 10 seconds. Okay, so let's go back to our prefab here, or our little prefab tree here. So now we have this PNG created. We have this animation that's been created. Make sure it's on. And let's see if this works now. So we have this prefab that we can create. It's not in the game yet, but it seems like everything is working here. Let's go ahead and go out of the prefab mode. And let's go ahead and drag one of these prefabs into the My Objects folder. Okay, so you can see now that the tree gets added to the scene. Let's go and hit play and see if our animation works. And right now it does not work. So let's go ahead and see what we did wrong here. Let's go back to the My Seasonal Tree object. Oh yeah, like I thought, we didn't have the actual animation attached. So we're just gonna grab the animation, and which is this one right here, and drag it in. So we created the animation, but we need to put the animation into the controller there. And now, let's see if we grab a new one. Let me delete the old one. We grab a new prefab and drag it in here. And now that it has the My Seasonal Tree controller, we now see the tree changing with the seasons. Okay. Now you can see here that there are some issues because I can walk in front of the tree. So we'll just actually fix that as well. Okay. So let's go back to our prefab here and make sure that we fix a few things. So again, you click on Open Prefab to fix the original one so that all the other copies will have these. We need to change the pivot. So the sprite mode now is using the center when it's to the pivot, so that it uses the bottom center as the pivot that we used before. And we should add a box collider. So let's go ahead and get in the good habit of adding box colliders when they make sense. We're going to go and click on Add Component. We're going to add a box collider 2D. And the box collider 2D is going to be the little box right here so that we can't go through the tree. Okay, and now we create a prefab. Let's go ahead and hit play. And now I can't go through the tree, but I can walk behind the tree, and it uses the proper pivot. Okay, so that is our one of our trees. Let's go ahead and create the other tree. And let's actually, we'll test it a little bit later. I'm going to delete this old one here, and we'll test out both trees at the same time. So our next step is to create another tree. And this time, we're going to create a simple swaying tree using the animation tools from Unity. So I'm going to go ahead and create another prefab. I'm just going to call it My Swaying Tree. We're going to click on Open Prefab to start creating it. Again, we're going to need some components. The first one is just a sprite renderer to have it show up on the screen. We're going to pick a image that we like. So I'm just going to go, I don't know, with maybe the last one. I'll go with the last one. So I'm going to go back to My Swaying Tree, and I'm just going to grab the last image here and drop it in. So this is a tree that's going to sway back and forth. Okay. Again, we need to change the pivot to using the pivot here. And now we're going to create an animation. We'll click on Add Component, Animator. Right. And let's go ahead and create a animation. So I'm going to the object itself. I'm going to click on Create. It's going to let me create an animation. I'm going to call it my swing animation. Okay, once I created the animation, or once I created the blank animation, let's go ahead and add a property. Now, instead of adding frames like we did before, we're going to use the transform tool and specifically a rotation. So if I hit play right now, the tree just stands still. So this is in 1 second. At the 1/4 way down, or 15th, 1/4 of a second, I'm going to go ahead and rotate the tree on the z-axis. That means it sways in the x and y. I'm going to go ahead and go 1 degree. So the tree is going to sway, let's go like 2 degrees. So it's going to kind of like sway down 2 degrees here. And at the halfway point, which is at 30, it's going to sway back to 0. And at 45, it's going to sway back the other way. Let's just go -1. So if I hit play to view it, it's going to sway to the left, bounce back, sway to the left, bounce back, sway to the left, and bounce back. Okay? And it's all going to happen in 1 second. If I want to make it more gentle, again, you could select all of the frames like this by left-clicking and dragging, and this pulling it to like 2 seconds. So the sway is a little bit more subtle. And there we have it. So we created a swaying tree animation. Let's go back to our prefab. Remember, this is the object that we were playing with. We got to go back to our playing a swaying tree prefab and make sure that our animation is there. So it looks like my swing animation is not there. Or if it is, let's double check to make sure. So this is my swing animation. It looks like it already has the animator there. So it looks like it should work. Just go ahead and go back, and let's go ahead and test it out. So we're going to drag this into my objects, or you can just drag it directly into the scene like this. So there's my swaying tree. Here's my seasonal tree. I should add a box collider. Let's go do that later. Let's hit play and just make sure that our animation is working. Yeah, our animation is not working. So let's go ahead and make sure again that this has, again, I come back to here and it doesn't save my animator. So let's go ahead and make sure I grab my swing animation right here and drag it into there. So now let's go back, delete these, or delete the swing one. Let's go ahead and add one back. And it should create a prefab that has the swaying tree animation. Right? Now we have a seasonal tree that's changing with the seasons. It has box colliders. It's pivoting correctly. I think this one will pivot correctly because we changed the pivot, but we did not add a collider here. So we should add a collider there, and we're going to be done. So let's go back to my swaying tree prefab. Let's go ahead and add a component here. We're just going to add a box collider 2D. And let's go ahead and change the size of this hitbox. And let's actually make sure we're opening prefab mode. Okay, so let's go ahead and click on the hitbox here. And down to the trunk and down like this. Okay, that should be good. Turn off like that. Let's go back to our prefabs and let's go ahead and test out another one of these trees. And I'm gonna go ahead and delete the old one. And let's see, or it actually looks like it changed it already. I didn't need to delete it. It seems like it had the pivot already. So again, I can go hit the tree, I can go behind the tree, I can collide with the tree, and now I am starting to create a nice animated environment. And the great part is, now that you have these prefabs, it's pretty quickly to just drag more. So I could grab these and make a forest relatively easily. You can see how you can create a world pretty quickly by creating these prefabs. All right, that's it for this video, guys. I'll see you guys next video.